We're going to talk a little bit about group services today. I'm curious, just before we get started, hold your hand up if your PAC team provides group services. Just want to get a sense in the room. Hold your hand up if your team provides group services. Okay, nice, great. And this is a didactic, but please feel free to pause, ask us questions, raise your hands. I see Tamara Williams, you have your hand up. Do you want to ask a question or is that a mistake? I see lots of hands up.
I was just letting you know that we have groups on our team. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
You said raise hand,
Duh.
right? Okay.
Duh.
Okay, sorry.
No, that
Thank
was
you.
me. That was not you.
All right.
I took that way too literally. Okay, moving on. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the role of group intervention in PACT and how they can be used to increase engagement and promote recovery. We're going to summarize the benefits of group implementation and the impact on Team Act fidelity, and the importance of group training, becoming a facilitator of group and using a team-wide approach to support effective groups. So what are some options for groups? So for those of you that raised your hand, what kind of groups do you run? So you can unmute, you can put it in the chat. What types of groups do you run? We want to get a sense of what everyone's doing.
I run a talking circle.
A talking circle. Can you say a little bit more about that? Who was saying that?
Yeah, we're actually just started, but we modeled it after the UW Harbor View that is at DSC. And so it's just very loosely based. The clients come in, we kind of let them lead the way. Um, I was very happy that they stayed after snacks last week. It was really nice to see. I think that that relaxed model, it really made, like, I don't have an agenda. It's like, what do you guys want to cover? And we naturally were able to cover, like, keeping their units clean, depression, things they do. And I had other groups where I had like a agenda and it was like, we're gonna have snacks after. And I've never had such a good turnout. So I really like this relaxed form.
An open group where people can just feel like they can show up and there's not a lot of you need to do this, this, and this. I love that. And that's going to be talked about in a future training, diving more deep into how do you do that? How do you create agendas? And we'll get to that at the end of today. Lots of things in the chat here. Gym group, co-occurring disorder group, substance use disorder, life skills, walking group, EIMR, Enhanced Illness Management Recovery, CBTP, health and wellness, socialization, psychiatric rehabilitations, DBT, lots of some repeats here. Nursing, bowling group, ooh, I like that. Fishing group, Voc group, food is a great motivator. Yes, it is. Wellness group. So lots of different options. There's lots of different ways that you can run groups, lots of different types of groups you can run. Tamara talent shows, I like that. That'd be fun. So all of you said most of these. EIMR rap groups. I don't think I saw that on there, but I do know there are some PAC teams that are doing rap groups. Social skills training, healthy living, you all said that, substance use, leisure, cooking, budgeting, hygiene, peer-led recovery groups, all sorts of different options for different types of groups. So with that said, let's talk about why should we run groups? And I'll let Andre take it away.
Yeah, so when we think about groups, I think it's really important to just kind of start off with kind of thinking big picture when we talk about PACT and just what are the benefits of PACT. When we think about PACT, we know that PACT in itself is an evidence-based practice, and we've talked about that, and that we know within PACT there are other evidence-based practices. Think of IDDT, we think of IMR, the IPS model. RAP, these are all evidence-based practices that are within the model of the evidence-based practice of PACT. And we know that all the different research associated with PACT in regards to some of the fidelity review data that we collect, we really know that PACT works. And we know that PACT typically improves a wide range of different things when it comes to client care. We talk about just treatment adherence. PACT is working with a population that doesn't typically engage in traditional outpatient-based services, but we know when clients can get onto PACT teams, there's a higher likelihood of treatment adherence. We know that it reduces significant hospitalizations in regards to kind of decreasing the crisis system and decreasing some of the pressure put on the crisis system in your different regions. It improves housing stability. We know that it has a significant impact on substance use outcomes for clients that you're working with, and overall engagement in services is improved because of PACT. And I think it's important to say this because what we know is that groups can increase and really strengthen these benefits and overall outcomes of PACT by really just increasing that connection, motivation, and consistency. Kind of what DESC talked about, like just the fact of just hosting a group and providing a space for clients really can improve and increase and really kind of strengthen the overall connection that clients are having, not only with the team, but really with each other.
So Andre, I was going to pull up a whiteboard so that folks could brainstorm on this, but it doesn't look like that setting's on here. So we can just use the chat.
I'm going to look a little bit at some of the more specific group benefits. So maybe just throw this in the chat. Would love to hear just from you guys, for those of you that have been part of a group in the past, maybe some of you that are running groups now, or maybe you've been a part of a group yourself. What are some of the benefits that you've experienced individually, maybe some benefits that your team has experienced, or what are some of those benefits that maybe clients have experienced while participating in groups?
I also just turned on the whiteboard feature.
Community, socialization, good. Throw out some ideas in regards to some things that the team has benefited from when it comes to groups. Stigma reduction is a great one. Self-care. What else? Camaraderie, great, yeah. How about any benefits that you individually as a clinician? Getting to know the clients better, absolutely. Morale, good. Learning from participants, yeah. Thank you. Practical ones, Deborah. Hours maximization, yeah, it's a good one. For those of your team that has a lot of focus on face-to-face contact, that's a great one. Good. More confidence for clients with social mission, awesome. These are great. I'll just throw out a couple more. I won't necessarily go through all of these, but these are just some important ones that we kind of helped identify that you guys have already mentioned. I think a big one, and this one I think never gets spoken enough, is really that peer-to-peer support. It's typically really well received in groups. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that throughout. Just this idea of really helping clients to learn, not only from the team and from us as individually as clinicians, but really the idea of learning from each other and how important that can really be. All right, and just some additional more benefits. More clients get more services, increased access to care. It's a really important one. The skill development, practice in real time with real people. The importance of clients working together and learning those skills in person is really, really important, and getting them surrounded with other people can be really important as well. And the last one, I think it could just be really important too. When we talk about cost effectiveness, that can also align really well with just that productivity, that horrible P word that we talk about on teams is that productivity. How can we be cost effective? How can we meet those productivity standards of our agency that they have on us? That doesn't necessarily always apply to PACT teams, that productivity word, but it is still really, really important. And this is just a really simple way to kind of build that productivity hours. I think this is an important one that we really just kind of want to pull out and kind of mention when we talk about the benefits for clients with co-occurring disorders. I'll just read this real quick, then I'll kind of rephrase it. It says, research has indicated that peer-oriented group interventions directed by a professional leader, just to clarify, you are all the professional leaders, is what we're talking about here, despite heterogeneity of clinical models, are consistently effective in helping clients to reduce substance use and improve other outcomes. Another way of saying this is that groups led by a trained professional, kind of regardless of the particular method or model being utilized, are effective in really helping people cut down on substance use and really just improve overall well-being. And all the research can indicate that. And so the more groups that we can have, the more effectiveness that we are in our groups, the likelihood of really helping our clients to decrease some of the harm that their substance use is creating in their day-to-day life can be really improved. My guess is none of these are things that you guys aren't necessarily aware of already, but just kind of having a conversation and talking about that a little bit more can be really important to kind of just reemphasize and kind of build some of that momentum for improving and really creating new ideas or new opportunities to start running your groups. If you want to go back one, Christine. Real quick, one of the things I think that I saw most often when I was helping my team run groups was really the benefit that it had when it came to really improving and increasing engagement with the clients. And these are all things that you guys have talked a little bit about. And I think most often is that clients often experience that social isolation and really beginning to see others with similar life experiences and seeing other people with similar challenges can really kind of begin to really help reduce that stigma that you guys have, that some of you guys had mentioned earlier in the chat, and really kind of reduce that shame associated with what they might be experiencing. And the idea is that clients are more likely to attend when they feel connected. So the more opportunity that we can have to provide these groups, the more likely they are going to be to attend, and really just kind of having that shared ownership over the group. It's really, really important. When we think of providing a sense of hope through peer modeling, success stories really feel believable and helping clients understand that recovery is possible. Just a quick story I want to share with you guys. One of the things that I think I recall most from my days in PACT in the day-to-day helping my team is that when we would run these groups, a lot of times these groups would be associated with clients who were close to transitioning or graduating from services. And one of the things that we would always do is that we'd be really intentional about hosting a graduation party for one of our clients during one of our groups. And it was really neat to see other clients get excited about the idea of graduation just by hosting this group party for a graduate and a client out of PACT. And it really kind of helped build this momentum, and it really helped other clients understand that success is possible, recovery is possible. And you could just take time sharing with the whole group what this particular individual did to get to this graduation level that allowed for him to have his own party. And so just little success stories like that can be really believable when we host them in the groups. All right, Christine.
Okay, so structured team-supported groups improve client outcomes, engagement, and staff sustainability, which equals fidelity, right? And what is fidelity? What is fidelity? Put it in the chat. What do you understand fidelity as? The evidence-based practice, yep. And what does fidelity do? What does fidelity do? Like what's the point? What's the point of fidelity? Keeps on track, provides the best outcomes. Yeah, it matches the standard of how the practice is supposed to be done, which in turn gives us good outcomes. Providing the best care following the model, what we need to do to make sure we are doing what we need to do. Yes, the actual processes for that. But yeah, we want to follow fidelity because we want folks to have the best possible outcomes that they can have. And what's really cool about groups, you'll notice we used kind of a weave there, is it touches on multiple aspects of fidelity. So it touches on structure, operations, engagement, so much more. So let's kind of jump into what do we mean by that? You guys already defined that. Thank you so much. So how does it do that? We're skill building in real time. So there's lots of different fidelity items that goes through helping people build skills like psychiatric rehabilitation, helping people to be independent, autonomous, right? That's the reason why we provide ACT services. And that's all throughout groups. Andre talked about that. It helps people learn skills, how to live, how to be independent, how to create relationships. It also goes to the operations and structure of what fidelity is. It creates consistency, it creates team building, sharing schedules, sharing responsibility, team approach, seeing clients on a regular basis, all the things. Natural accountability from peers. So having peer work as an evidence-based practice and separately helping people find their own peers are both part of fidelity. Natural supports, peer work, RAP, and you can roll all of that into running a group. And then immediate positive reinforcement. When we talk about person-centered care and helping people being, looking at our lens of self-determination, this is what groups does. It helps people do that. It helps us look at unique approaches to help people do things on their own. And then, of course, ownership of their own recovery. When we see other people doing it, when we have support from people who are going through something similar, it really helps people, move forward and stay on track. So we're going to talk for a few minutes just about some particular fidelity items where group has an impact. Certainly, there are more items where if you really thought deeply, group certainly has an impact, but these are sort of the more direct ones. So sometimes you might be providing group services for co-occurring disorders or substance use disorders. The role of the co-occurring disorder specialist in treatment might be doing that, meaning part of their role is being able to not only educate the team, but to be able to provide co-occurring disorder services. And as Andre read in an earlier slide, groups is one of the most effective ways to treat co-occurring disorders. Same thing with peer support specialists. Peer support specialists can and should be running groups like RAP, EIMR, same thing, teaching skills, education, all part of the evidence-based practices rolled into TMACT, as well as something the peer can do. Full responsibility of psychiatric rehabilitation. We're going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to kind of skip over that one because we're going to get into that in detail. And you'll see how group services connects to that fidelity item. Integrated treatment for co-occurring disorders. So yes, the COD specialist might run a group, is going to talk about group, might help with group, but everybody on the team, right, should have some sense of what dual disorder approach looks like. And anybody on the team can help with running a co-occurring disorders group, can help with giving the service of COD treatment. Same thing with RAP. Ditto, except replace COD services with RAP services. And then engagement and psychoeducation with natural supports. Andre and I are primarily talking about groups for the individuals we serve, right? And part of running those groups could be a topic of creating relationships, strengthening relationships. But also, just as a side note, there's PACT teams that run groups for family members, which is a whole nother fidelity item. And so the skills that you use to run these types of groups are mostly the same skills that carry over into running groups for natural supports. And then using empirically supported psychotherapy. As you saw the list of different types of groups, there's several different kinds, all of which, not all of which, most of which are evidence-based practice, like IDDT, which Jeff teaches, CBTP, which Jeff and Andre teach, IPS, psychiatric rehabilitation, RAP, EIMR, we could go on, but you're now integrating those evidence-based practices, not only in individual work, but in group work. So let's go back to psychiatric rehab. What is psychiatric rehab? What is your understanding of what that is? PSR, what is that? What's the point of psych rehab? Let's see what people think. I see typing, people typing. What is PSR? Cognitive restructuring, it could be. Could be. Okay, so psych rehab promotes recovery, increases community inclusion, and improves quality of life. Someone put in the chat, working toward independence and reintegration to the community. Perfect definition, Foothills. Life skills, yes, yes. Life skills, working towards independence. That is what we do as a PACT team. Our primary goal, right, if we do nothing at all, is to help people be independent is to help people reach meaningful goals. That is what we do. We are a psych rehab lensed treatment team. So how does group do that? Well, groups help people build skills with other peers and independently to be successful in the community. It emphasizes recovery, independence, and real world application. Group does a really good job with that. And so then it connects to those PSR items in the Team Act.
Like Christine said, we need to remember that our role on PACT is about helping clients acquire skills. It's about that skill development. It's about doing with clients and not doing for clients. It's really kind of helping them identify what does recovery mean to them. And groups are that simple way to begin introducing some really basic skill development and really kind of helping promote that idea of recovery. If you think about that safe space in groups for clients to just learn some basic ADLs, whether that's around budgeting, medications, transportation, really kind of supporting that level of independence and really kind of reducing the need for hospitalizations. And I think one of the most important things about groups and really this idea of skill development and how it promotes recovery is really just helping clients and helping the team really encourage that real world practice. PACT teams are just tailored for skill development and skill building. You learn some of that stuff in the group, and then you're following up with the team later in the week at home for that home practice and really kind of learning how to develop those skills and really becoming masters of that particular skill or whatever that level of recovery is that the client's looking for. I think sometimes we forget with our population on PACT that this is a population that has typically a long history of social isolation. And they may have often forgot some of those social skills that they may have developed prior to their first episode of psychosis. And you get clients that just kind of forget what it means to be socially engaged. And you have clients that are difficult to just get out of the house. And so really kind of helping clients relearn some of those skills is really, really important. And groups are kind of a perfect environment to really help them recall, practice, and really reestablish those skills that can really kind of help them re-engage with others, re-engage with family. That group is a great opportunity to remember what it's like to make friends and reinforce some of those positive behaviors. I think one of the things that stood out most, and I even chuckle about this now thinking about the clients that I worked with on groups, when I would get clients from very different parts of town and you kind of get them together in a group environment, how often these clients know each other. Typically from inpatient settings, Western State Hospital, and they instantly kind of rekindle this old relationship they might have had. And so it can bring back some positive memories for clients when they can see a familiar face and they can kind of reestablish what it means to kind of have a friend. And just the opportunity of really being able to do this by watching and learning from others is really important. I love this picture. This last spring, I was spending time with one of the teams in Vancouver, and I was able to go out with them on this. It was one of their groups. It was just kind of a PACT hiking/walking group. And this picture totally reminds me of that day last spring. It was a beautiful spring day, sunny out, and we were just out walking with a group. And these are the types of groups that really kind of help clients reacquire what social skills look like and really kind of reintroduce that community integration, which in theory should be aligning with the client's definition of what recovery means to them. These group opportunities is an awesome opportunity to just kind of practice those basic communication skills where we as the leaders of the group are really beginning to ask good questions. This is an opportunity for us to kind of help reestablish some good boundaries and really kind of practice our own assertive skills when we talk about group development. A good example of what this can look like is when I was thinking and I was providing some feedback to this team, they were asking about just, hey, what are some ways that we can improve our groups. And so one of my observations was after this group, we kind of all got together. We were having a little bit of a snack. And the facilitator of the group says, hey, does anyone want to share? And in typical PACT fashion, there was not a lot of sharing, and it was kind of crickets out there. And so part of the ways that we can kind of be assertive in our own engagement attempts when it comes to group is just kind of setting a new framework. Instead, maybe saying something like, we're going to go around and have everyone share one thing that they enjoyed about today's hike. And just that simple reframing of the language takes this from a passive group to more of an assertive engagement group. And it just kind of helps clients practice some of those basic skills. So lots of different ways that we can do that. One of the things that we have to really be mindful of, and our hope is really our desire to really transition clients out of PACT. I know there's often a motto on PACT that once on PACT, always on PACT. And I don't necessarily think that should always be true. Our hope is to really transition clients to a lower level of care. And that typically is not going to be done if we really haven't helped them build that level of self-efficacy, which in theory should be aligned with what their definition of recovery is. And self-efficacy only happens when we're really helping clients promote positive goal setting and really helping them take responsibility for their own recovery. And that's often going to mean us helping clients become a little more independent with that skill acquisition and kind of getting away from doing for clients and really kind of making sure that we're doing with clients. And something that we really need to be mindful of is just our sense of hope. And how do we build that sense of hope for the clients that we're working with, really providing that level of empowerment and really kind of thinking on that future focused idea. And I love this image on here, just that idea of recovery is right out in front of us. We may not necessarily know exactly what it looks like, but we can help clients kind of take that path and kind of discover that for themselves, and we'll be there to walk alongside them.
The other thing too, Andre, I was just thinking of is it's amazing what sharing can do in a group to build hope. Like somebody thinks, oh, I can never do this. And then there's actually research around this, especially about work. And then somebody says, oh, I got a job. And then someone's confidence and hope just skyrockets, just hearing, wow, somebody like me was able to do that. And that happens a lot in groups. It's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah.
So groups are a shared team ownership. It doesn't just belong to, for example, one staff. If Christine's running rap group, it doesn't just, belong to me. Or if Jacob's running EIMR, it doesn't just belong to him. It's an enhancement to the whole team. We all provide a lot of services. For example, co-occurring disorder services. That doesn't belong to just one person. Well, there's a lead on it. We all contribute to providing dual disorder care. For another example is employment services. Well, while one person is the lead on that, we all know what that is and encourage that kind of care. Groups are the same thing. We share that responsibility. We do a better job running groups when there's more than just one of us running groups. Yes, there might be a person lead facilitating and another person co-leading, but if the whole team supports groups, helps people get to groups, helps people understand how groups connect to their individual recovery goals, all those types of things, people are more apt to show up. And as you know, if people show up, the outcomes, as we saw from earlier, are likely going to be better. They're going to carry more hope, confidence, all those good things. Groups should be something we talk about in daily team meeting, just like we do individual services, just like we run down the line of talking about every individual on the team. If group happened to that yesterday in the last 24 hours, let's talk about group and how that went, making sure that everybody is on the same page. And then encouraging group during individual contacts. One of the reasons people leave groups, sorry, my cat wants to be part of this. One of the reasons people leave groups is because they can't connect it to why it's important to them. And our job outside of care, all of us, including every person on the PACT team, is to help a person connect any service, including groups, on how it relates to what they want. If something doesn't relate to somebody's meaningful future focused goals, why should they go? And so outside of group services, it is all of our jobs to help that person understand how group can be helpful to them individually. We should all be talking about it. Oh, are you going to group? Do you need a ride? How was group last time? Pre-brief, post-brief. That's not just one person's job. And it works way better that way. We link groups to as an intervention to individual treatment teams, right? Going to group isn't a goal. It's a great intervention, but it's not a goal. And that type of intervention should be connected to someone's treatment goal. If we're having someone go to groups and recommending and they're attending, we need to figure out why. Why are they going to that group? What is it connected to? And that should be on their treatment team and it should be discussed in their ITT meetings. We should involve the peer if we can. Who else better than the person who has lived experience? That is what group is all about, is sharing lived experience. And we actually have a professional on the team that knows just how to do that. So the more we can get peers involved in group, the better, in our opinion. Jacob, add to that, please.
I could definitely add to that, but we have a question in the
Oh,
chat.
okay.
Please involve your peers in groups. I think I've talked to several of the peers on the teams, and most of them love running groups, being involved in it. It's a great way to build engagement with somebody that has some lived experience. Um,
Absolutely.
so, but the question in the chat, this is a great question. Logistically, I think everybody's going to be in a different place, but how do you get everyone to group? It's a
Yeah, that's a
challenge.
great question. And I think a lot of people put answers in the chat that are super helpful. We have a lot of wisdom in the room. So please, please, please respond to that question with what you do. And that's a teaser. What I will say is we're going to get more into the logistics of how to run a group. And there's a little surprise at the end that we'll tell you about, but I promise we'll get to that. In the meantime, if people could respond to that question in the chat and share their wisdom, I think that could be super helpful. Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate that. Celebrating wins, making sure that when you do run a group, what happened? What were the good things? Not only sharing that and celebrating that with the individuals you work with, but celebrating it as a team. And also not forgetting to allow flexibility, not being rigid with attendance. We work on a PACT team, right? Part of our job is assertive community treatment. If we say you need to attend every group, guess what? We're probably not going to have a group. And then the other thing I didn't mention is transportation will be an issue, which was the question in the chat. So we will get to that. Okay, so why does full group training matter? We just talked a lot about that, but we need to be able to cross coverage. That's part of being on a transdisciplinary team, being able to pinch hit for each other, being able to step in, being able to come over if there's a crisis in group or after group or it triggered something. We need to be able to do that. We need to have two group leaders, and we'll talk more in depth about this later on, but if you can, two group leaders work best. You have a lead facilitator, somebody who can, guide the group, guide the didactic if there is a piece, and help manage the dynamics. But then the co-facilitator would be the person that's offering support, observing, looking around, assisting with interventions. I remember when I ran groups, we used to just switch lead, co-lead, lead, co-lead. Okay, I'm the person that sits back today, looks around the room, make sure people don't need support, take somebody out of the room if they look triggered, while the lead facilitator is running the majority of the group. And that, again, we're giving you little teasers here. There's a lot more to this. But having everybody involved in group ensures continuity of care, reduces burnout, stress, and helps with coverage. And having more brains is also better than one because we all have different ways of addressing things.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead, Andre.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, is this your slide? Am I doing your slide?
I can do it. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing your slide or not.
Just keep in mind, there's a lot to running groups, and to run them effectively. And one of the biggest challenges it can be is just that, how do we get clients to groups? There's a lot of dynamics within groups. How do we decide what clients do we want to open this up to? Is this going to be a closed group, an open group? Is this going to be providing like a stage-wise appropriate group for a particular stage of change? Lots of considerations to think about. What are we going to use a particular evidence-based model in regards to what type of group we're going to have? And then just also being mindful of like, how do we document well? How do we make sure this aligns up with fidelity so we're getting the full credit for the work that our team's doing? These are all things that we're going to continue to talk about And just for how we're doing on time, I want to make sure we're respecting our, okay. I'm going to just rush ahead a little bit just so we can make sure we have enough time for the consultation. Something to keep in mind. I'm not going to take time to reflect on this, but just I want you guys to kind of think for yourselves in your own teams. Where are you guys at individually when it comes to running groups? Where are you as a team when it comes to running groups? Maybe the idea of running a group seems a little daunting, or like I'm not sure how we would do it. Kind of based on our region, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to transportation. What are some creative ways that we can do that? How is this a conversation that we can bring it together holistically as a team? Maybe this is something that I want to approach my supervisor with or my team lead with during supervision. Hey, I've been kind of thinking I'd really love to run a group. Maybe my face-to-face contacts with clients has been a little low and I would like to increase that. Maybe groups could be a good way to do that. What we want to do is we want to just provide you guys all with kind of some opportunities for some potential next steps when it comes to your group dynamics on your team. How do we improve and kind of level up when it comes to how we're going to be doing groups? And so what we want to do is we want to provide you guys an opportunity to just kind of further facilitate this conversation and allow us to kind of help improve your group dynamics and really kind of guide you guys along the way. And so what we want to do is we're going to just provide a 4-hour group training on April 16th from 10 to 2. And it's just going to just be on Zoom. But this is just an opportunity, hopefully, to just hear not only from us, but there's so many great things that each of your teams are doing when it comes to group stuff. And so this would be an opportunity, whether you're new to groups, whether you're just unsure if you should start a group, you just want some support on facilitating some challenges when it comes to getting clients to show up to your group on a consistent basis. What are those barriers that you're experiencing? And there's supposed to be an opportunity for us to just kind of share some basic strategies with you on what that looks like, but also an opportunity to learn from each other. I think sometimes it's just great to hear from other people that are doing the day-to-day grind of PACT work. And so we would love for this to be an opportunity for whether or not you're new to groups or you're a seasoned veteran when it comes to running groups on PACT. We would love to have you attend to kind of share some of those same things that you're doing with the other teams across the state. So like I said, we'll send out a registration for this here in the next couple of weeks. But if you want to mark your calendars, April 16th from 10 to 2.
Jeff?
I think Jacob already mentioned this in the chat, and he's got his hands raised too, so he might be getting ready to say the same thing. But Jacob and I both have extensive experience with running groups, and I have years of experience of doing it in the context of PACT, actually. So we're going to provide an actual demonstration of running a group, and Jacob and I will be the facilitators, and we would like to invite you along to be our participants, and then we can work together collaboratively and go through what a group session would look like and all of the steps that you would take in order to have a well-facilitated group. So really hoping that you guys that are interested in doing groups can join us. Should be a good time.
What questions are there? I'm going to take down the PowerPoint if y'all are good with that.
I think one, that's exactly what I was going to say, Jeff. So thank you. There's not a question, but a comment. I don't feel the team promotes them enough. Something I want to see more of. I think that's a great point. And I'll let Christine and Andre talk about that. But one of the things that we're going to cover in that training is how to promote the groups. So,
yeah, just real quick, if the group concept and idea and the facilitation of it is not a team-wide buy-in, it's going to fail every time. It is imperative that the entire team is motivated and understands the rationale and the clinical procedure of why we're doing this particular group. So we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that, but that has to be a team-wide buy-in. When it comes to the home practice, when it comes to the transportation challenges, when it comes to co-facilitating, when it comes to maybe I'm bringing in the nurse for one particular group session to share something about physical health or the complications of medications, it has to be a team-wide perspective. So good.
Yeah, and that said, we encourage anybody who is even thinking about running groups or is running groups, and leadership to attend, and anybody in between. But absolutely running groups and leadership, we would love to see your face there, and excuse me, anybody else.
Cool. Thank you both. Any last minute questions or comments before we move on to the case presentation? Okay, so I'm about to hand this over to Navos, who is presenting, but I do want to point out something. So one of the big